Hey guys, today's video is going to be a little bit of a rant. I'm going to talk about my biggest pet peeves. Now, we've all got these, and they don't always really make sense. Pet peeves are just things that, for whatever reason, just drive us crazy. And if you do one of these things on the list, of course, I'm not saying that I don't like you, or that I don't like the type of person who does these things. These are just specific little things that people do that I would just implore you to reconsider doing, maybe, especially if I'm around. And I'm recovering from being sick, so hopefully my voice will stay with me for this entire video. Crossing fingers. So the first pet peeve that I have is just general grammar mistakes. I'm not talking about different language things like different accents or non-native speakers. I'm talking just these repetitive mistakes that you hear that are they're just blatantly mistakes. So for example, saying like I done that instead of I have done that, it drives me so crazy. This applies to speaking, this applies to spelling, like the your, there, or just other very common spelling mistakes that people make. The thing that drives me the most crazy about this is that most people actually know when they're making a mistake if they stopped to think about it. They just don't. And that just... Another thing that annoys me is on social media when people use too many hashtags. I like hashtags, I like them more and more actually, but it's to the point where the hashtags are more lines than the actual post or the actual text for the caption itself, and it's probably the worst on Instagram, but I see a lot on Twitter as well. And some people will put them like in the middle of a sentence, and there are just so many hashtags you can't read the sentence they were trying to write because every other word becomes a hashtag. It's just annoying, I just want to read the post. Also, the phrase, "I'm sorry you feel that way." If you're apologizing for something, that means that you should feel some sort of guilt, or there should be some reason why you're saying the words "I'm sorry." And if you're saying "I'm sorry you did something," or "I'm sorry you feel something," that completely defeats the purpose of even apologizing in the first place. If you're not sorry, okay. If you are sorry, okay. But this weird, like, I'm gonna say it but not really say it, it doesn't mean anything to me. In fact, it sort of makes it worse than if you hadn't apologized at all. Just don't say it. My next pet peeve is people who talk during a movie when someone, at least one person in the room, hasn't seen that movie. I'm okay with people talking during movies if it's something where everybody there has seen it a bajillion times before, could practically quote it or something. In fact, I talk a lot during movies that I really like if I'm with somebody who also really likes them and has seen them a lot. However, if at least one person there hasn't seen the movie before and is witnessing it for the first time, I am so frustrated when someone else will interrupt the movie, when you miss like pieces of dialogue and moments that are supposed to be tense or moments that are supposed to be thoughtful. There's just so much to a movie that it was created to give you these feelings, and if you talk through it, it ruins that. And if somebody in the room hasn't experienced that before, they deserve to experience it for the first time in the way that they're supposed to experience it. Also, people who go into elaborate medical details when nobody asked. I am very compassionate about people's issues and problems that are going on, and if somebody gets sick, if somebody has to have a surgery, anything like that. However, there's a certain amount of detail that it just shouldn't be gone into unless someone specifically like asks you to go into that detail. I don't want to know. I care that you were sick. I'm sorry that you were sick. I will hear about it this much, but unless I ask you about how the surgery was conducted or something, I don't really want to know. It also drives me crazy when people will chew with their mouth open. It's not even just a polite thing, because it is, especially in formal situations, it's just a polite thing to do, to chew with your mouth closed. But there's something about, even in casual situations, watching somebody eat their food is just, you can hear it, you can see it, it's just things that I don't want to experience. Just keep your mouth closed, please. Another one on social media, it drives me crazy when people will misspell your name when they're responding to you on social media where your name is right there, or if they're responding in an email and your name is just in the email that they just received. I've had my name misspelled before. I've seen people's names misspelled on social media right in a comment where you hit reply to this name. It takes like 5 seconds to just glance up and recheck to make sure you've typed it right. It's really not that difficult. And people who cut in line. I cannot even begin to describe how much it drives me crazy when people will cut in line. Maybe I lived in England too long, but man, English people know how to queue. And I'm driving a lot right now too, and in rush hour, people will cut you off all the time and like try to get around you in ways that are probably illegal. Everybody is going for the same destination here. Everybody has someplace they need to go, whether they're driving or they're waiting in line for the bank. So why do people cut in line like they're more important than everybody else? And the last pet peeve I'm going to talk about is when people say a friend or my girlfriend or my boyfriend when I know that person too, and I know their name, I know them personally, why don't you just say their name? I don't know why this drives me so crazy, but it's like, if I know them too, if I know them by name, then there's no reason to constantly keep referring to them and like distancing them. It goes the other way as well. It's also really annoying when people will refer to someone by name when they know there's really no way that I even know who that person is. You know, when you're talking to someone and they're like, oh yeah, and then I told Rachel, and you're like, Rachel? I don't know who Rachel is. Is that your friend? Is that your sister? Is that your mother? Who's Rachel? This happens actually a lot, especially when you're talking with people that you don't know quite as well. It's just annoying if I don't know who that person is, or if I do know who the person is and they assume I don't. So there you have it. There are some of my biggest pet peeves. Now it's your turn. Everybody has these. I don't even care if you say that you have a pet peeve that I do and you know I do it. That's okay. Just be nice about it. But let me know in the comments, what are some of your biggest pet peeves? And I do think that my voice held up with this entire video, so that's a plus. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.